All right, so we are ready to read Act 4, I lied, Act 3, Scene 4. Okay, so this is the final scene in Act 3. Remember, Act 3 is always where like a lot of big things happen. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start this scene. We are actually in Gertrude's chamber. Now remember, we just overheard King Claudius admit yes, he did kill his brother, for sure. Hamlet did not hear that admission. He came in later on, but he did not want to be the one who killed Claudius at the point that he is praying and be the person responsible for sending him to heaven. So, Hamlet decided not to kill his uncle Claudius, his uncle dad, Claudius. Okay, so now we're in Gertrude's room. Polonius is hidden behind a tapestry, and Hamlet's going to come in and have a conversation with Mom. Wonder how that's going to go. Okay, let's see.
He will come straight. Look you, lay home to him. Tell him
Polonius.
his pranks have been too broad to bear with, and that your grace hath screened and stood between much heat and him. I'll silence me even here. Pray you, be round with him.
Mother! Mother!
Okay, again, I don't think it's nice that people keep listening in on conversations with Hamlet. I feel like it's kind of cool whenever a person can expect a little bit of privacy. That's kind of not cool. And the fact that he's literally behind a tapestry, weird. That's a bit shady, okay? And, Polonius is like, yeah, let him have it. Tell him that he's been, acting weird and his boyish pranks need to stop. Okay.
I'll warrant you, fear me not. Withdraw. I hear him coming.
Now, mother, what's the matter?
Hamlet, thou hast thy father much offended.
Mother, you have my father much offended.
Come, you answer with an idle tongue.
Go, you question with a wicked tongue.
Why, how now, Hamlet?
What's the matter now?
Have you forgot me?
No, by the rood, not so. You are the queen, your husband's brother's wife, and, would it were not so, you are my mother.
Nay, then I'll set those to you that can speak.
Come and sit you down. You shall not budge. You go not till I set you up a glass where you may see the inmost part of you.
Okay, so let's pause for a second because this is already awesome. Okay, so she says, she tells him, Hamlet, you have offended your father. And he says, Mother, you have offended my father. He, of course, is talking about his actual dad. She, of course, is talking about his uncle, dad, his stepdad. Okay. And she says, you're saying crazy things. You're answering with an idle tongue. And he says, you're asking questions with a wicked tongue. So he's accusing her. And she's like, what are you talking about? And she says, have you forgotten? It's me. It's your mother you're talking to. What are you doing? And he said, no, by the rood, not so. You are the queen, your husband's brother's wife. And would it were not so, you are my mother. Man, these are harsh words. I can't imagine what this would feel like for her, hearing her son accusing her in some way. I mean, telling everything he's saying is saying, hey, the fact that you're married to my uncle, terrible, dishonorable. And then also, I wish you weren't my mother. Whew, that's rough. Yikes.
I'll do. Thou wilt not murder me. Help! How?
What ho? Ho! How now? A rat?
So listen, things are heating up fast. She says, I'll set those to you that can speak. And he says, come, sit you down. Like she's going to go, get other people to back her up that he's being difficult. He says, you're not going anywhere until I say you're going somewhere. He says, I want you to look at yourself. Like actually look in a mirror, look at yourself and see who you actually are right now because you're not even you. And the queen says, she gets scared. She gets a little creeped out by him because he's been acting crazy for a bit. So she says, what wilt thou do? Thou wilt not murder me. Help. Oh, and then she starts crying out for help, at which point Polonius, behind the tapestry that he's hiding out behind, he's like, what? Oh, so you need help? Remember, he's an idiot. So, oh dear, now Hamlet hears that he's not alone.
Dead for a ducat. Dead? Ah! I am slain.
Oh, me, what hast thou done?
Nay, I know not. Is it the king?
Oh, what a rash and bloody deed is this!
A bloody deed. Almost as bad, good mother, as kill a king and marry with his brother.
Has killed a king.
Aye, lady, it was my word. Thou wretched, rash, intruding fool. Farewell. I took thee for thy better. Take thy fortune. Thou find'st to be too busy is some danger. Leave wringing of your hands. Peace. Sit you down, and let me wring your heart, for so I shall, if it be made of penetrable stuff, if damned custom have not brazed it so that it be proof and bulwark against sense.
Okay, so Polonius was behind the tapestry. Whenever he says, like, oh, do you need help? Hamlet's like, ooh, a rat. I'll kill a rat. Of course, he knows it's a man standing back there. He's kind of hoping it's his uncle. So he shoves his knife into the body behind the tapestry, and oopsie, it's Polonius. Ophelia's dad. Huh. So the queen is like, oh my gosh, what did you just do? And Hamlet's like, is it the king? Oh, did I accidentally kill him? Awesome, Nope, it's not him. Whenever he pulls Polonius's body out from behind the tapestry, he calls him thou wretched, rash, intruding fool. He always thought he was a bit of a fool, but what an idiot to be listening in on a very private conversation. And yeah, that's, terrible. Of course, should you go around stabbing curtains in your house? I don't know. I think we might all feel a bit of stabby if we saw somebody hiding behind a curtain in our house. So I don't know. That's a tough one. But, and the queen is horrified because he just killed Polonius. And he tells her, sit down. We've got some talking to do. Stop wringing your hands. Obviously, it's not going to bring him back. Sorry, didn't mean to kill him. But we've got some talking to do.
Have I done that thou durst wag thy tongue in noise so rude against me?
By the way, one thing I want to point out, at the point that Hamlet was saying, a bloody deed, almost as bad, good mother, as kill a king and marry his brother, she said, as kill a king? That's new information for her. Good to know. She's still asking, like, why are you so upset with me?
Such an act that blurs the grace and blush of modesty, calls virtue hypocrite, takes off the rose from the fair forehead of an innocent love and sets a blister there, makes marriage vows as false as dicer's oaths. Oh, such a deed as from the body of contraction plucks the very soul, and sweet religion makes a rhapsody of words. Heaven's face does glow o'er this solidity and compound mass with heated visage, as against the doom is thought sick at the act.
Ay me, what act that roars so loud and thunders in the index?
Look here upon this picture, and on this, the counterfeit presentment of two brothers.
Dad,
See
uncle.
what a grace was seated on this brow? Hyperion's curls, the front of Jove himself, an eye like Mars to threaten and command, a station like the herald Mercury new lighted on a heaven-kissing hill, a combination and a form indeed where every god did seem to set his seal to give the world assurance of a man. This was your husband. Look you now what follows. Here is your husband, like a mildewed ear blasting his wholesome brother. Have you eyes? Could you on this fair mountain leave to feed and batten on this moor, huh? Have you eyes? You cannot call it love, for at your age the heyday in the blood is tame, it's humble, and waits upon the judgment. And what judgment would step from this to this? Sense, sure you have, else could you not have motion, but sure that sense is apoplexed, for madness would not err, nor sense to ecstasy was ne'er so thralled, but it reserved some quantity of choice to serve in such a difference. What devil was't that thus hath cozened you at hoodman blind? Eyes without feeling, feeling without sight, ears without hands or eyes, smelling sans all, or but a sickly part of one true sense could not so mope. Oh, shame! Where is thy blush? Oh, rebellious hell! If thou canst mutine in a matron's bones to flaming youth, let virtue be as wax and melt in her own fire. Proclaim no shame when the compulsive ardor gives the charge, since frost itself as actively doth burn and reason panders will.
Okay, so he has evidently a picture of his dad and his uncle, and he's putting them in front of her. He shows her the picture of her, first husband, his dad, King Hamlet. And he says, man, he was so, handsome and just had all of these, different properties that were almost godlike in his visage. He was so awesome. And then you've gone from him to this guy. And he says, your current husband is like a mildewed ear blasting his wholesome brother. Do you have eyes? Could you on this fair mountain leave to feed and batten on this moor? He says, have you eyes? Again. He says, you cannot call it love, for at your age the heyday in the blood is tame. It's humble and waits upon the judgment. And what judgment would step from this to this? So you can't say that it was like love and lust, because who would go from this to this other situation? Surely not. So how in the world have you saddled yourself with my uncle? This is dreadful. Let's see what she says. And here's the first talk he's really calling her out on, oh my gosh, you married my uncle so fast. Terrible.
Oh, Hamlet, speak no more. Thou turn'st my eyes into my very soul, and there I see such black ingrained spots as will not leave their tint.
Nay, but to live in the rank sweat of an enseamed bed, stewed in corruption, honeying and making love over the nasty sty.
Oh, speak to me no more. These words, like daggers, enter in my ears no more, sweet Hamlet.
A murderer and a villain, a slave that is not 20th part the tithe of your precedent lord, a vice of kings, a cutpurse of the empire and the rule, that from a shelf the precious diadem stole and put it in his pocket.
No more.
A king of shreds and patches.
Okay, so he's talking about how ridiculous the uncle is, and how in the heck did she leave his dad for this guy over here, and she's like, man, speak to me no more about this, Hamlet. Yeah, this is terrible. You're right. There are a lot of people who think that Queen Gertrude is kind of a pushover when it comes to what her thoughts should be, and if you pay attention to how Hamlet acts toward the women in this play, he's not very kind. He seems to think that they're kind of weak and they're always making bad choices and they're kind of always ruled by the men around them. If he is correct, then that is problematic. Maybe Shakespeare, again, I think oftentimes Shakespeare is arguing on the side of strong-minded women who do have thoughts and ideas of their own, women who are not afraid to let their opinions be heard. And so Gertrude and Ophelia both seem to have this issue where whoever seems to be loud and feel things strongly near them, they're just kind of like, oh, just okay. And it's kind of like maybe they're like people pleasers or something, and they just want to kind of make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy in life, fact. So that's not the way you want to be. So Hamlet has a great deal of disrespect toward women in general, but the two women in this play are similarly natured, where neither one of them is very strong-willed or strong-minded. And that seems unfortunate for both of them. Okay, so let's see what happens next.
Save me and hover o'er me with your wings, you heavenly guards. What would your gracious figure?
Alas, he's mad.
Do you not come your tardy son to chide? The lapsed in time and passion lets go by the important acting of your dread command. Oh, say.
So the ghost of Hamlet's dad has just come into the room. Now listen, Hamlet sees the ghost of his dead father. Queen Gertrude sees nothing. She sees Hamlet Hamlet is suddenly backing away and talking to a blank area of the room. And she says, alas, he's mad. So it's kind of proven in her mind that he must have finally gone crazy, stark raving mad. And Hamlet's like, what are you coming to tell me? What's going on with you?
Do not forget. This visitation is but to whet thy almost blunted purpose. But look, amazement on thy mother sits. Oh, step between her and her fighting soul. Conceit and weakest body, strongest work. Speak to her, Hamlet.
How is it with you, lady?
Alas, how is't with you? That you do bend your eye on vacancy, and with the incorporeal air do hold discourse. For that your eyes, your spirits wildly peep, and as the sleeping soldiers in the alarm, your bedded hair, like life in excrement, start up and stand an end. Oh, gentle sun, upon the heat and flame of thy distemper, sprinkle cool patience. Whereon do you look?
On him. On him. Look you how pale he glares. His form and cause conjoined, preaching to stones would make them capable. Do not look upon me, lest with this piteous action you convert my stern effects. Then what I have to do will want true color, tears perchance for blood.
To whom do you speak this?
Do you see nothing there?
Nothing at all. Yet all that is, I see.
Nor did you nothing hear?
No, nothing but ourselves.
Why, look you there. Look how it steals away. My father, in his habit as he lived. Look where he goes even now out at the portal.
So the ghost leaves.
This is the very coinage of your brain. This bodiless creation ecstasy is very cunning in.
Ecstasy. My pulse as yours doth temperately keep time and makes as healthful music. It is not madness that I have uttered. Bring me to the test, and I the matter will reword which madness would gamble from. Mother, for love of grace, lay not that flattering unction to your soul that not your trespass but my madness speaks. It will but skin and film the ulcerous place, whilst rank corruption, mining all within, infects unseen. Confess yourself to heaven. Repent what's past, avoid what is to come, and do not spread the compost on the weeds to make them ranker. Forgive me this, my virtue. For in the fatness of these pursy times, virtue itself of vice must pardon beg. Yea, curb and woo for leave to do him good.
Oh, Hamlet, thou hast cleft my heart in twain.
Oh, throw away the worser part of it, and live the purer with the other half. Good night. But go not to my uncle's bed. Assume a virtue if you have it not. That monster, custom, who all sense doth eat of habit's devil, is angel yet in this, that to the use of actions fair and good he likewise gives a frock or livery that aptly is put on. Refrain tonight, and that shall lend a kind of easiness to the next abstinence, the next more easy. For use almost can change the stamp of nature, and either master the devil or throw him out with wondrous potency. Once more, good night. And when you are desirous to be blessed, a blessing beg of you. For this same Lord, I do repent, but heaven hath pleased it so to punish me with this and this with me, that I must be their scourge and minister. I will bestow him, and will answer well the death I gave him. So again, good night. I must be cruel only to be kind. This bad begins, and worse remains behind. One word more, good lady.
Okay, so in the midst of his conversation with his mom, the ghost of his dad shows up and says, "Hey, don't forget why you are what your job is. You are supposed to revenge my murder." And so Hamlet's like, oh yeah, well, the whole time he's talking to his ghostly father, Gertrude is thinking, my son has gone crazy. So he explains to her, no, it's just, it's ghost dad. And then he tells her, he's like, please, Mom, don't, you've already sinned enough. Can you, just not go back to my uncle, but, stay away from him?
What shall I do?
Not this, by no means, that I bid you do. Let the bloat king tempt you again to bed, pinch wanton on your cheek, call you his mouse, and let him for a pair of reechy kisses, or paddling in your neck with his damned fingers, make you to ravel all this matter out, that I essentially am not in madness, but mad in craft. 'Twere good you let him know, for who that's but a queen, fair, sober, wise, would from a paddock, from a bat, a gib, such dear concernings hide? Who would do so? No. In despite of sense and secrecy, unpeg the basket on the house's top, let the birds fly, and like the famous ape to try conclusions, in the basket creep and break your own neck down.
Be thou assured, if words be made of breath and breath of life, I have no life to breathe what thou hast said to me.
I must to England. You know that.
Alack, I had forgot. 'Tis so concluded on.
There's letters sealed, and my 2 schoolfellows, whom I will trust as I will adders fanged, they bear the mandate. They must sweep my way and marshal me to knavery. Let it work. For 'tis the sport to have the engineer hoist with his own petard, and shall go hard, but I will delve 1 yard below their minds, and blow them at the moon. 'Tis most sweet when in one line 2 crafts directly meet. This man shall set me packing. I'll lug the guts into the neighbor room. Mother, good night indeed. This counselor is now most still, most secret, and most grave, who was in life a foolish, prating knave. Come, sir, to draw toward an end with you. Good night, Mother.
Okay, so Hamlet, he looks at the body of Polonius and he says, I repent for this. I didn't mean to kill Polonius. He's an idiot, but I didn't mean to kill him. Oops. But that's the thing I regret. All these things I've been saying to you, I feel strongly about. You need to not go back to my uncle. You need to stay away from him. He is bad. He killed my dad. I just want you to be away from him. And then she says, be thou assured, if words be made of breath and breath of life, I have no life to breathe what thou hast said to me. So it sounds like she's going to keep everything he said to her secret, quiet. She's going to keep it to herself. She's not telling anybody. And then he says, oh, I've got to go to England, which was already part of the plan. Claudius had Rosencrantz and Guildenstern set to escort Hamlet to England to get out of Denmark and get out of the way. And so Hamlet starts dragging Polonius's body out of Gertrude's chambers. And that is how Act 3, Scene 4 ends. So we have our first official death in Hamlet. Polonius, that idiotic fool who liked to be in everybody's business. Well, looks like sometimes maybe it's not good to be in other people's business and to be listening into conversations secretly. Do you know any people who like to do that? They like to listen at keyholes, stand behind things, hear what other people are saying. It's not precisely honorable. So, but understand too, like in the last scene, if you had seen Hamlet as heroic previously, the first thing that gave us the clue that maybe he's not precisely heroic is whenever he's wanting to not kill Claudius while he's praying, because he wants Claudius to rot in hell is really why he wants to not kill him while he's praying. And then here in this final scene of Act 3, he kills Polonius. It's a violent act. He just stabs into the tapestry. There is a human being in that tapestry. That he knows. He doesn't know who the human being is. He thinks maybe it's his uncle, but that doesn't make it good enough for him to stab mindlessly. So he takes a life. Now, our big question is he as guilty as Claudius of taking the life of somebody's dad. It's not cool. So, man, Hamlet, you're making some dreadful, grievous errors by the end of Act 3. Of course, things have changed dramatically in this play, as they often do in Shakespeare plays by Act 3. So we have to wait and see what happens in Act 4. Okay, bye.